Indian, French and Australian foreign ministers held the first in-person trilateral meet in London on a Tuesday. The Indian Foreign Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar tweeted about the meet and said, I'm quoting at this point, "The substantive discussions with my colleagues at the first India-France-Australia trilateral ministerial dialogue thanked them both for strong support in meeting the COVID challenge." Jaishankar said that the leaders discussed the Indo-Pacific strategic landscape and agreed on the importance of enhancing cooperation. Both France and Australia are part of the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative announced by India in 2019. Naval forces of all the three countries have been carrying out the exercises with each under several formats, and now the India-France-Australia trilateral was formed in September 2020. Initially, it was a foreign secretary level forum. When formed, it had three joint priorities: maritime security, environment and multilateralism, and there have been senior officials meetings on each track since then. And in 1 year, it has been raised to ministerial level. The meeting comes as foreign ministers of the world's biggest nations in London for G7 summit. Now, India is not part of the G7 group, but Jaishankar is in UK on the invitation of his British counterpart, Dominic Raab. And for more on this, WION's principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, is joining us live. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, this seems to have been a fruitful meeting. What can you tell us about the agenda and the points of discussion here?
Well, it's a significant meeting that happened in London, and officially the trilateral, the foreign secretary level, which was formed last year, has been elevated to the ministerial group now, because we know that this group basically focuses on the Indo-Pacific convergences. It has three priorities. One is multilateralism, environment, and making sure there are convergences on several other issues. But by and large, the fact that it has been elevated at the ministerial level is a significant development. It is a development which is like the development of the Quad grouping, because Quad was a grouping which was elevated from the senior officials level to the ministerial level to, of course, the leadership level, and now Paris, New Delhi, and of course Canberra coming together and making sure that there are convergences on several issues of concern, whether it's COVID, whether it's climate change, whether it is when it comes to the Indo-Pacific as well. If we look at Australia and India, both the countries have been engaging with each other when it comes to the Quad, and both countries are part of, geographically part of the same landscape. What is interesting is France taking part in it, because France is very keen when it comes to the Indo-Pacific concept, the vision. It has come out with its own guidance when it comes to the Indo-Pacific. And of course, France has territories also in the Indo-Pacific. So it considers itself, in a sense, an Indo-Pacific nation. In fact, there were a number of exercises as well, whether it is bilateral exercise with India, whether it is the exercises with the Quad grouping in terms of France plus the Quad naval forces. So these kind of coming together, we will see more in more domains, whether it is defense, whether it is fighting the COVID crisis, whether it is climate.
Also, Siddhant, as we mentioned, within a year, this has been upgraded to a ministerial level meet. What can you tell us about that?
The fact that it has been uplifted to a level which is ministerial level shows the seriousness when it comes to these three countries on this grouping. This grouping as of now has no name. It is just referred as a trilateral between the three countries. But this is a grouping that has a lot of bright future, given that how these three countries have already been working with each other in several formats, and now have come up with a mechanism that, of course, will see these ministers meeting more often. Perhaps there can be a mechanism in which every year there can be a meeting of these ministers on the sidelines of the various meetings. In fact, G7 summit has in effect come out as a standout, given the fact this is the first physical meeting of the foreign ministers of so many countries, and this gave them the opportunity to have conversations. Remember, this trilateral, which is a much awaited trilateral, which has formally happened, was expected to happen last month on the sidelines. of the Raisina dialogue here in Delhi. But it could not happen because the Australian foreign minister could not come. Many other foreign ministers could not come, in fact, because of the COVID crisis. Now, of course, the opportunity came on the sidelines of the G7 foreign ministers meeting in London, and they, of course, have met. There is no joint statement as well. The only tweets have come out, but do expect to hear more about this grouping in coming future.
All right, Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us with all the updates on that. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.